Have you ever met someone who seems to push away the very thing they need most? Someone who sabotages their own happiness, who can't accept a compliment, who believes deep down that they're unworthy of good things. This isn't a personality flaw. It's a wound, a specific kind of wound that forms when a child doesn't receive love and understanding. This wound is the first step to healing it, whether it's in yourself or someone you care about. Today, we're going to explore something profound: how the absence of love in childhood doesn't just affect our emotions, it shapes our entire reality. And more importantly, how we can begin to rewrite that story. Let's start with a simple truth that every spiritual tradition recognizes. We are born as pure love. Think about a newborn baby, completely open, completely trusting, completely present. That baby doesn't doubt its worth. It doesn't question whether it deserves to be held or fed or comforted. But here's what happens. That child is like a mirror, and in those first years of life, what they see reflected back to them becomes their understanding of who they are. When a child receives love, consistent, warm, unconditional love, they internalize a message: I am worthy, I am safe, I am enough. This becomes their foundation, their operating system for life. But when that love is absent, or conditional, or inconsistent, something else happens. The child doesn't think, my parents are struggling, or they're doing their best but they're wounded too. No. The child thinks, something is wrong with me. I am unlovable. And that belief becomes the lens through which they see everything. It becomes the invisible architecture of their entire life. Today, we're going to understand this from both a psychological and spiritual perspective. Because healing this wound requires both understanding the mechanics of what happened and reconnecting with the deeper truth of who we really are. So what does it actually look like when a child grows up without receiving love? Let's get practical here, because this shows up in ways you might not expect. The core wound that's at play here is, I am not enough. This is the fundamental belief that takes root. And from this one belief, a whole tree of painful patterns grows. For instance, the approval addiction. This is where an adult becomes a people pleaser, constantly trying to earn love through achievement, through being useful, through being perfect. They think, maybe if I'm good enough, smart enough, helpful enough, then I'll be worthy of love. But it never works, because they're trying to earn something they already deserved all along. Then there are some who build walls so high that no one can get in. If I don't let anyone close, they can't reject me. They can't confirm what I already suspect, that I'm unlovable. So they isolate, they push people away, they sabotage relationships right when they start to get good. Then there's the emptiness. There's often this persistent feeling of emptiness inside, like something essential is missing. They might try to fill it with work, with food, with shopping, with relationships, with anything, but nothing quite works. Because what's missing isn't out there. It's the love they never learned to give themselves. The inner critic perhaps can be the most painful. That unloved child grows up with a voice in their head that sounds suspiciously like the neglect they experienced. It's harsh, it's critical, it's relentless. Where a loving parent's voice would say, you did your best, this voice says, you're a failure. Where love would say, you're learning, this voice says, you're stupid. And here's the spiritual tragedy of it all. None of this is who they actually are. Their true nature, that pure awareness, that divine spark, that essential self, is completely untouched by all of this. But it's buried under years of conditioning, under layers of protective strategies, under the weight of that original wound. Now let's go deeper, because understanding how this wound operates is crucial to healing it. From a psychological standpoint, what happens is this. In early childhood, our brain is developing its fundamental patterns. Neuroscience tells us that the neural pathways that get used the most become the strongest. It's called neuroplasticity. When a child experiences consistent love, their brain develops pathways associated with safety, trust, and self-worth. When they don't experience that love, their brain develops pathways associated with hypervigilance, self-protection, and unworthiness. Think of it like this. If you walk through a forest once, you barely leave a trace. But if you walk the same path every day for years, you create a deep trail. The unloved child walks the path of "I'm not enough" so many times that it becomes the highway in their mind. Now let's go even deeper and see where the spiritual perspective adds something crucial. Those neural pathways, those painful beliefs, those protective patterns. They're not who you are. They're what happened to you. Every spiritual tradition points to the same truth. Beneath all the conditioning, beneath all the wounds, beneath all the stories, there is your essence. Some call it the soul. Some call it consciousness. Some call it your true nature. It was there before the wound. It remains undamaged during the wound. And it's still there, waiting to be remembered. The Buddha talked about this as our Buddha nature, the inherent wholeness that's already present. Jesus taught that the kingdom of heaven is within. Modern teachers talk about presence, or awareness, or the true self. The wound doesn't destroy this essence. It just covers it up like clouds covering the sun. The sun is still shining. We just can't see it. There's a cycle that keeps it going and going. And here's what makes this particularly challenging. The wound creates a self-perpetuating cycle that repeats until it's addressed and healed. Let's say you believe you're unworthy of love. So when someone treats you with genuine kindness, what happens? Your mind says, they must want something, or they don't really know me, or this won't last. You literally can't receive the very thing you need most because it doesn't match your internal belief system. Or maybe you do let someone in, but then you test them constantly. Do they really love me? Let me see how much I can mess up before they leave. And eventually, they do leave. Not because you were unlovable, but because the constant testing was exhausting. And then your mind says, see, I knew I was unlovable. The wound reinforces itself. This is what spiritual teachers mean when they talk about how we create our reality. It's not magical thinking. It's that our deepest beliefs literally shape how we interpret and respond to everything that happens to us. One more crucial piece is that this wound doesn't just live in your mind. It lives in your body. That unloved child learned to hold tension in their shoulders, to breathe shallowly, to brace for disappointment. The body learned that the world is not safe, that vulnerability leads to pain, that it's better to stay small and protected. So even when your mind starts to heal, even when you begin to understand things differently, your body might still be carrying that old story. This is why practices like yoga, breathwork, or simple body awareness are so powerful. They help release the wound from where it's been stored. All right, so here's the moment where we turn the corner. Here's the truth that changes everything. The love you didn't receive as a child. You can give it to yourself now. I know that might sound like self-help cliché, but stay with me, because this is where psychology and spirituality converge into something truly transformative. Think about this. When you were a child, you needed external love because you didn't yet have the capacity to generate it yourself. A 5-year-old can't parent themselves. But you're not 5 anymore. You now have something you didn't have then: conscious awareness. You can become the loving parent to yourself that you needed. This isn't about bypassing the pain or pretending the neglect didn't happen. It's about recognizing that while you couldn't control what happened then, you can influence what happens now. A good place to start is with something called reparenting yourself. Here's what this actually looks like. When that inner critic speaks up, that voice that says you're not good enough, you can respond the way a loving parent would. Say to yourself, "I hear that you're scared, but that's not the truth about who you are. You're learning, you're trying, and that's enough." When you make a mistake, instead of that familiar self-attack, you can offer yourself compassion. Say something like, "This is hard. Everyone struggles with this. What do I need right now?" When you feel that emptiness inside, instead of rushing to fill it with distractions, you can sit with yourself the way you would sit with a hurting child, telling them, "I'm here, I'm not going anywhere, and you're not alone." And from a spiritual aspect, every time you do this, you're not just changing your thoughts. You're actually connecting with your true nature. Because here's the secret. The love you're learning to give yourself isn't something you're creating. It's something you're uncovering. It's been there all along, buried under the wound. When you offer yourself compassion, you're touching the same consciousness that existed before the wound happened. When you treat yourself with kindness, you're remembering your inherent worth, not earning it, not proving it, but remembering it. This is what meditation teaches us. When we sit in stillness, beneath all the noise and the stories and the pain, there's a presence, a witnessing awareness. And that awareness, it's never been hurt. It's never been diminished. It's always been whole. The unloved child can't access this awareness. They're too young, too dependent on external validation. But you can. You have the capacity now to tap into something deeper than the wound. There comes a moment in this healing journey, it might be today, it might be months from now, where something shifts, where you catch yourself being genuinely kind to yourself and it doesn't feel fake, where someone offers you love and you can actually receive it, where you look in the mirror and instead of criticism, you feel tenderness. That moment, that's not you becoming something new. That's you remembering something ancient. That's you reconnecting with the truth that was there before anyone ever failed to love you properly. So let's bring this all together. If you're someone who didn't receive love as a child, I want you to understand something. What happened to you was real. The pain was real. The impact was real. This isn't about minimizing that or pretending it didn't matter. But here's what's also real. That wound does not define you. Those coping mechanisms you developed, the walls, the people-pleasing, the self-criticism, they made sense at the time. They helped you survive, but you don't have to live there anymore. Here are 3 key practices to help you on your journey. 1. Awareness. Start noticing the patterns. When does that old wound show up? When do you feel unworthy? When do you push love away? Just notice, without judgment. Awareness is the first step to change. 2. Self-compassion. Practice. Talking to yourself the way you talk to someone you love. This feels awkward at first. That's okay. Do it anyway. Your brain is literally creating new neural pathways each time you do this. 3. Connection. Connect with something larger than the wound. Maybe it's meditation, maybe it's prayer, maybe it's time in nature. Find practices that remind you that you're more than your history, more than your thoughts, more than your pain. And if you're watching this because someone you love carries this wound, here's what helps. Be consistent. Be patient. Understand that when they push you away, it's not about you. It's about the wound. Your steady, reliable presence can slowly teach their nervous system what they never learned as a child, that love can be safe. But also know this, you can't heal them. Only they can do that work. What you can do is be a mirror that reflects back their true worth until they can see it themselves. Here's the beautiful thing about healing this wound. When you do this work, you don't just heal yourself. You break a cycle. You stop passing the wound to the next generation. You become a source of genuine love in the world instead of someone desperately seeking it. And on a spiritual level, you're doing something even more profound. You're uncovering the light that was always there. You're removing the obstacles to love's presence. You're not becoming whole. You're recognizing the wholeness that never left. So here's my invitation to you today. First, take a moment right now. Put your hand on your heart. Take a breath. And say to yourself, even if you don't fully believe it yet, I am worthy of love. Feel what that brings up. Notice any resistance. That's the wound talking, and it's okay. Second, I want to hear from you. Have you recognized this wound in yourself or someone you love? What's been your experience? What's helped you begin to heal? Share in the comments below, because your story might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. Third, if this resonated with you, there are more videos on this channel that dive deeper into related topics. How to heal your inner child, understanding self-worth from a spiritual perspective. Practices for self-compassion. Check those out. Consider this part of a longer journey you're on. And finally, if you know someone who needs to hear this message, share this video. Sometimes the most loving thing we can do is help someone understand that their pain makes sense and that healing is possible. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to this channel. Also, don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss our videos. Thank you so much for your support. Remember, the love you seek is not out there somewhere, waiting to find you. It's inside you, waiting to be remembered. The journey back to it might be long, but every step is worth it. You were worthy of love the day you were born. You're worthy of love right now, and you'll be worthy of love tomorrow. That's not something you earn, it's something you are. Thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this work. And thank you for having the courage to look at these wounds and choose healing. I'll see you in the next video.